whole bunch of protocols. And then we have annual your patient is at 1:30, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we have, we'll get one more person in the morning, we'll get somebody from here in the morning, with, maybe more, and then one more person in the afternoon, besides the observation. So, what I'll do is I'll go through the abdomen and give you protocols, and so this is going to be kind of, and do remember that we are recording, so, and all the information, or most of the information, 95% of the information is in writing as well. If you have this handout, you didn't get the notifications?
No, all I got from you, all I got for this class was somebody from PayPal that I paid, and then an email from you asking for patients. I saw that everybody had, or some people had that.
Yeah.
What happened to me?
Okay, can you get an internet connection right now?
I'm only on my phone.
Okay, I'll show you afterwards how to get these
Okay.
handouts. Sorry, but
That's all right.
there's tons of handouts and articles and stuff on my website. So all I'm saying is that you don't have to write every word.
Okay.
It's totally okay now.
I'll just take it now.
All right. So I usually start with left spleen 13, 14 because just to give people a baseline. Okay. The next in the abdomen, the next place I poke is left stomach 26, 27. Okay, and that's oketsu. And like we saw yesterday, the solution for that is liver 4, lung 5. Remember that liver 4 is not where you might expect it to be, exactly at the joint, but about a thumb's width below the joint, needle upwards. Okay, and lung 5 is a little bit more lateral to the tendon rather than right next to the tendon. You're really looking for something a little bit tight there. Next thing I check is right side stomach 26, 27. And that area can mean a number of things. It can be immune reflex. It can be a lung reflex. It can be a digestion reflex. It can be a pelvic shift reflex. Or it can be you can call it women's reflex. Women have a tendency to show right side things. Okay? So now the way Kiiko talks about it is that if you look, and this is an area that I have no expertise in whatsoever. I'm one of those people, if you talk to me about stems, branches, or I Ching, I'm totally I have no clue what draw me broken and straight lines, and I'm totally zoned out. It's not my thing, okay? So, but there is this understanding that, if you look at the abdomen, and you take the 5 elements and you get them going around, and so we said this will be kidney, okay? If this is fire and this is water, okay? Fire, earth, metal. Actually, that's not correct somehow because something's missing here. Anyway, well, we would agree that water is here, so this will be kidney yin and kidney yang, because this will become wood. Okay, so this is kidney yin is the most dormant, and then kidney yang is it's beginning to pop out towards wood, which will actually spring out. Okay. So this area here, you might say, is stomach 26, 27, is going to be, I guess the earth would be in the center here, but again, this is the thing that, this is the kind of stuff that I don't engage with very well. But her explanation for it is that this is kidney as it's moving towards wood, meaning it's about to spring. Okay? And therefore, in women's constitution, it's like the potential for life. And since women's constitution is very much about, uterus reproduction, it tends to show here. Okay? All I can say to you is that The reflex on the right side, stomach 26, 27, is common for women to have. And what you want to do is kidney 7, kidney 9, something on the kidney channel on the right side would resolve it. Okay? Otherwise, for the other 4, if it's immune, they may show Sanjiao 16 behind the SCM, and we use immune points between large intestine and 11, but on the bone, on the attachment of the muscle to the bone. If it's lung, I might use lung 8 on the left side to solve right side to stomach 26, 27, or I might use lung 5 on both sides. If it's digestion, I would start probably with spleen 9 and possibly stomach G. Okay? And spleen 9 is needling outwards. If it's pelvic shift, okay, that's the other one. What I do, I don't have a good resolution for it on the front, but what I do is I press on the sacroiliac ligaments and see if that resolves on the front, stomach 26, 27 on the right, and then I know it's pelvic shift. Okay. Now, you might say, well, if sacroiliac ligaments resolve it, you know, the point for sacroiliac ligaments is gallbladder 34, but a pelvic shift does not necessarily mean that they have pain on the sacroiliac ligaments. Okay. If they have pain on the sacroiliac ligaments, yes, I can do gallbladder 34 and hope that it resolves right side stomach 26, 27. Yes.
So if they have pain, so they have right stomach 26, 27, and then they have pain or on the sacroiliac joint, the pressing the sacroiliac joint does not resolve.
The stomach 26, 27?
You would still try to do GB34 and
well, I would still do GB34 because it's for the sacroiliac ligament, but I'm not, since the sacroiliac ligaments did not appear to be related to stomach 26, 27.
Okay.
I mean, I'll still do gallbladder 34, but I may actually choose to do gallbladder. So, okay. So this is actually a cool question because it shows you how you can jump levels. Okay. So we have the situation. We have a finding, read my writing, of stomach 26, 27 on the right side. Now, we're testing, we don't know what it means yet. Okay, it can have 5 different meanings. Okay, this can go lung, it can go immune, it can go digestion, it can go pelvic shift, or it can go women, so to speak. Okay. Now, let's say I tested all of these, none of these, you know, and I'm saying I think it's a pelvic shift. Okay. So I'm pressing sacroiliac ligament. Now I'm having a new finding, which is sacroiliac ligament, sacroiliac joint. Okay. I can't needle. First of all, now it's painful. I'm not going to needle the sacroiliac joint itself. I don't needle where it's painful for the most part. Okay. Not first-time patient, at least. Okay. Because if you needle into a problem, you can create a worse problem. You know, the Asha method is not my style, okay? Sometimes it works great, sometimes it can backfire, okay? So you can use Asha method for me. And some patients, for example, they went to another acupuncturist who, you know, and they said, oh, I have pain here, and they stick a needle there, and they got great results, and now that's what they want me to do. And unless I do that, they're not going to get better. That's just the reality of it. Okay, so I do everything I can, and if they still don't get better, I'm okay, fine, I know what you want, you know, so that's fine. Or some patients, you say, I tried my method, first treatment, and now I have no choice but to needle into a place that's painful because otherwise I can't move the case. Second treatment, I don't mind doing it, but first treatment, I prefer not to. Because when you know a patient, if you got things a little worse, it's not the end of the world. But if the first time you come in you got things worse, that's the chances of them coming back are so much less. So you lost the chance of being able to help them. So I just want to know that I'm secure with them in case something goes wrong before I needle into a painful spot. Okay? But generally speaking, I try not. So now the sacroiliac ligament joint has now become a finding. Now, her question was, If sacroiliac does not resolve stomach 26, 27, and none of these did, now I'm stuck with a stomach 26, 27 that has I have no ideology for. But since sacroiliac ligament was painful, now because it's painful and I pressed on it, maybe that's why it's not helping. I don't know. The solution for sacroiliac ligaments is gallbladder 34, master of torque. Okay? So now I needle gallbladder, or I press on gallbladder 34. Ideally, gallbladder 34 fixes the sacroiliac joint. Sometimes it won't, okay? It can happen, and not everything does things. Let's say it did, okay? You have a chance that now suddenly stomach 26, 27 is also better, even though this one did not seem to do it. You can also get a situation where gallbladder 34 will fix the sacroiliac joint, but not fix stomach 26, 27. So those are two different cases. If it fixed stomach 26, 27, my story is going to be, yes, they did have a torque problem. They did have a pelvic shift. It's just that small intestine joint pressing on it did not resolve it. But it seems like once I addressed it, it resolved it. So at this point, I'm making the conclusion that right side stomach 26, 27 indeed does reflect a pelvic shift. If gallbladder 34 does nothing for stomach 26, 27, then I can't make up that story, because it has no justification. So the whole process is I'm making up stories and seeing if they prove true on a person's body. And I can jump quite a few stages like this. So that's one of the things when I'm saying, yes, what I'm giving you now is protocols. Do this for this, do this for this, do this for this, but what often you'll see me do it. So I say, do A for B, do C for E, do X for G, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you'll see, like they have A, F, and G. And I'm starting to address G and A and F, or whatever they were, and start to get resolved without me addressing them. There's a way to jump steps by looking at how do I get to more the bottom of issues, rather than address each issue. Yeah.
So if you have reflex at stomach 26, 27, and then you try all of the immune, lung, all the stuff against it, and then you do GB34, it resolves the SI, but then the other stuff doesn't change.
But still stomach 26, 27.
Yeah.
How do I go about it? Now, I'm a little bit on the so-called stuck side at this point, which means I have no story, I have no explanation for what stomach 26, 27 reflects at this point. Because my usual dogmas are done. Now it's going to be individual per patient. I'm going to have to come up with a story. I can't tell you what it's going to be because, well, it's not in the book. There's no clarity about this is what we believe, this is like the standard stuff. The stomach 26, 27 may be totally different. Now, it may still be that's another problem. It could still be a digestive problem that I just didn't find the right point to address it. So this is where the medical history or the complaint is going to come in. If they say, well, yeah, I always have GI complaints, and there's no point in assuming that it has anything to do with the lungs or pelvic shift. Chances are. Now the question is, my treatment point wasn't good enough. Didn't resolve it.
And what do you do for the women's?
Kidney stone usually. Okay? I think it's called Women's Destiny or something like that. Yeah, go ahead.
I have one more question. Do you have any other go-tos for the SI?
I have a few. The thing is, from the front, it's very difficult. Okay, so yeah, there's a whole bunch. There's T11, T12 for SI joint. Okay, so on the back, we're kind of leaving the subject for a second. No, it's fine.
For what? For SI?
So SI joint. Okay, people with SI joint problems. Okay, so yes, your trump card is gallbladder 34. It's supposed to be. Okay, let's say that doesn't work, or it works partially, or whatever. Some things that you can look at that will work, but it's not on the front. Well, first of all, you have liver 8 because it's a ligament. So that, yes, is in the front. But other than that, what you have is T11, T12. T5 is a possibility. Okay. Anything under the occiput is a possibility, whether it's Do16, GB20, gallbladder 12, needle upwards, all of them. And then small intestine 9-10 is another option. Okay. So those are kind of like the standard options I'm looking at when somebody has sacroiliac joint pain. If it's only one-sided, and they have also L5 pain, I would look at heart 3.
You would go what?
Outside. Heart 3. Heart 3 is a good point for C7, T1 pain one-sided and L5 one-sided. Okay. Now, sacroiliac joint sometimes is a spleen 9 option. Spleen 9 is probably your best point for L4, L5. Okay. So, all depending on what's going on, you know, which one's going to work and what else they might have or whatever. So, but in terms of stomach 26, 27, yeah, I mean, if they have SI joint pain, it might explain why they have stomach 26, 27. It might not. It may not be related. Yeah.
So when you're saying SI joint pain now, are you talking about finding the pressure pain, or are you talking about that's their complaint, or both?
Both.
Right.
Can be both.
Okay.
Yeah. In other words, there's actual pain there.
Yeah.
You know, and now if there's actual pain there, either they knew about it or I found it. Either way, it now becomes a reflex. It now becomes something I want to resolve, I want to clear out. I want them to be able to leave without that pain there, whether I have to press it there for them to know, or they're like, oh, I have pain in the SI joint. Okay. Usually the people who have pain in the SI joint who tell you that will, you know, as opposed to you finding it, are going to have L4, L5, usually.
Do you find that Mushu also releases SI?
Yes.
Yeah, I find that. Yeah.
Oh, so the thing about the back points I mentioned to you, T11, T12, and T5, and actually you can add T7 to that list. These are points in the curve of the back where there's the biggest changes. Okay? I mean, T11, T12 is quite obvious, and in a sense you can add L5, but you're not going to use L5 in all likelihood for SI joint. L5 is where you have a change in between the lumbar spine and sacral spine. Okay? T11, T12 is where you have a change between the lumbar spine and the thoracic spine. Okay? So now the biggest change actually in the curve there is L2, but L2 is just does not seem to get as much juice. You know, that's just the reality. T5 and T7 again are a change in a kyphotic curve. Okay, so basically you have a curve. This is their head. Okay, that's their nose, so you know they're facing that way. Okay, that's their neck. That's the kyphotic curve and lordotic curve, and that's their sacrum. Okay, we have 2 legs. So the height of this curve tends to be T5, and while the height of the lordotic curve is L2, where that shift happens is T11, 12. So wherever you have, it's like a bow. Whenever you have a big shift in the curve, that's going to have the most repercussion on the rest of the bow, right? So those are places, T5, T7, T11, 12. These are places that you're going to get the biggest shift in the spine on. Okay, so always, you know, kind of, so like a lot of my back treatments kind of look the same. You know, due to T11, T12, T7, T5. That's kind of like my basic, you know, almost everyone gets that, that part of the treatment on the back. Because these are the back is much more primitive than the front. So I tend, you know, it's kind of like you're just almost like you're opening the structure and opening the nervous system. So chances are that these will do it. Yes.
What do you do for T5 shift?
I have a number of options. First of all, I have your occiput, also sacroiliac ligaments. Now, anything in the spine, the thing is, anything in the spine, I start with sacroiliac ligaments. Needling the sacroiliac ligaments themselves. Okay. Anything along the spine you saw yesterday, you know, heart of soul, kidney zero, so to speak. I would go for that. And then for T5 shift, so after I've done everything I can, I'm going to look at, is T11, T12 going to affect it?
Sorry.
If they have a problem with T5, I can use any of the other shifting vertebrae. So T11, T12 has a very good chance of doing it. I'll start with DO2, possibly kidney zero, sacroiliac ligaments. Now, how much is left? T11, T12, small intestine 9-10 is another option. Yes?
When you just say T11 and T12, is that Watto?
Either Watto or Do. It's totally up to you. You know, it's not up to you, it's up to the patient. You know, what is the body responding to?
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's just
My tendency is to go for Wattos, and I'm looking for extra, almost like extra tissue attached to the vertebrae on the side. But you can go for the Do as well.
Do you use heart of soul much?
Yeah, that's what, the other one that's really good for the spine in general is heart of soul. More for lower spine than upper spine, but heart of soul is the kidney zero. We had someone that we have. Yeah.
When needling the judgy points, if you find the extra tissue and it's like next to the body of the bird, you know, the process, and
I don't care.
Anywhere that you find it.
Doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be, totally doesn't have to be between the vertebrae. It can be totally exactly center of the vertebrae, you know, like the center of the side of the vertebrae. Yeah, there's nothing, I am not, I'm told when I say T11, T12, I don't mean between 11 and 12, I mean anywhere from just above 11 to anywhere just below 12. And I will generally tend, I mean, if you're going to count vertebrae afterwards, you will find that I'm generally below 12.
Sometimes you needle it when there's pressure pain, and it's not on the back, right?
Yes, okay, so the back, okay, on the front, it's all about reflexes and resolving it remotely. On the back, you don't have a lot of options. You know, the system is just much more primitive on the back. Okay, so, I mean, you really have two channels there, bladder channel and do channel. You don't have huge, and you don't have a lot of availability. Okay, so, and that's part of the reason why I do the back after, as opposed to before. Okay, because if I'm starting with the back and I'm basically, I've got all my important points not convenient to me, because, you know, when they're on the back, it's not convenient to needle the legs and on the arms. You might be able to, but it's extremely uncomfortable for you to do that. So, by the time I get to the back, basically my main interest, the main part of the treatment is quote-unquote over. If I didn't get what I want, I'm kind of like, okay, I still have a chance to get more on the back. But the back for me, for most patients, is, I don't want to say that it's a supporting element, but to a large extent, my hope is that I got most of what I could, that I got what I wanted in the front, and now what I'm doing is I'm stabilizing, consolidating, getting a little extra mile with a back. But it's not the main treatment for most people. That's not true for somebody with a slow pulse. Slow pulse people, which is not the majority of people. Okay? The back treatment is much more important. It has more weight to it. So I'm not saying omit the back treatment. Don't misunderstand me. I'm totally not saying that. I'm just saying usually by the time I got to the back, I already have my strategies. And often what I'll do is I'll translate the ideas that I have from the front to the back. For example, they had a liver issue on the front, or they had a ketsu. On the back, I'm going to do left UB35. Okay, left UB35 is our liver treatment on the back. Okay, because rectal vein is continuation of the portal vein. UB35. Yeah, did I say UB? Okay, UB35. So the T7, the dew point on T7 is called Che Yang, okay, and UB35 is called Hui Yang, okay, they talk to each other, okay, and T7 is blood, and it's so, you know, blood level, right, and it's also close enough to liver. So basically, if you find right side anywhere between T7 to T9, even T10 or on the bladder channel. You find pressure pain, I use left side UB35. It's UB35. Whatever. So I take that often, I take it from the front. Oh, they had liver or they had, okay, so I'm gonna do left side UB35. Or I already know their autonomic nervous system. I'm going to on the back, chances are I'm going to do do 2. Okay, probably not the thoracics. So generally speaking, most of my diagnosis, most of my assumptions were made on the front. And I'm now going to translate some of the stuff to the back. And my main concern is just open up the spine. Why? Because let's say you treat me really well in the front. Okay, and they say, wow, my shoulder, my elbow, my blah, blah, whatever, it's fabulous. Okay? The thing is, you don't, if you left something on the back, if there's some congestion in the back, it may come and grab everything and bring it back to where it was. So you're really always trying to open up everything you can. That's why also in the abdomen, you find something in the abdomen or the neck, don't leave it untouched. Don't go, okay, the symptom is fine. I got what I wanted. Yeah, they still have this, congestion in the SCM, but who cares? Their hip is good. They came for hip pain, the hip is fine. I don't see any connection between the SCM and the hip. It's not in the book, sort of thing. It's like there's no anatomy book are going to tell you that the SCM is affecting, there's trigger points in the SCM for the hip, right? But if they have tightness here, let's call it that the nervous system is revved up, or whatever it is, that can bring the body back to the place where it's not willing, we'll use the chiropractic language. You've adjusted them, they're now in a new situation, and they're not willing to hold to that quote-unquote adjustment because you left something that's grabbing. So it's better to clean everything. Okay, so in the back, generally speaking, to a large extent, I'm just cleaning up things, as opposed to arriving at whole new ideas. It's not always true, but I would say for 75% of patients, it's probably what I'm doing in the back is just making sure everything is open. I'm not re-diagnosing on the back for the most part. Make sense? All right. Back to the abdomen. So 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, just below kidney 16 around the navel, we call it adrenals. Original adrenal treatment is kidney 6 and 27. Okay. However, any kidney point below the knee can substitute for kidney 6. If they have kidney 2 pain, we use kidney 7 and 10. Metal and water. Always use metal and water for 5-point pain. Plus 27. If they have slow pulse, generally kidney 7 does a better job. If they have neck, throat, or jaw problems, there's a good chance, or pelvic shift, there's a good chance that kidney 9 will do a better job. And you will probably find that there are times in your practice life when kidney 7 is the dominant point for you, and other times kidney 9 is the dominant point for you. So it's okay that you should. The whole area around the navel is considered to be, so if it's many, not just, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, but 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock, that kind of stuff. That's considered spleen reflex more, possibly something to do with digestion. More for digestion, what we do, we'll take the whole palm and press on the navel when you release it. They kind of say like it feels gaseous or something. That would be more spleen type. Otherwise, we say it has to do with, like nasal allergies, nose problems will show around the navel. Okay? We say that the nose and the navel are correlated. They're both in the center of the face of the torso. Okay? And as a result, so if you put your nose, you bring your nose down to the navel, your eyes will become stomach 25. We say that stomach 25 is a reflex of eyes. Primarily for acute eye problems, not so much for chronic, slow progressing. So it can be for a chronic problem, but the problem started relatively suddenly. Stomach 25 is going to show it. Liver 13 is a reflection and treatment for ears. Okay? And do 20 and REN 4 are correlated.
Repeat that, do 12 for what?
Do 20 and
20.
REN 4 are correlated. So if you take your nose and put it in your navel, do 20, I can't bend that way, but do 20 will end up supposedly on REN 4. Your eyes will end up on stomach 25, your ears will end up on liver 13. It's just a mapping kind of thing.
Is that where those points come from like imaging and reverse imaging, or?
Sort of. I mean, I can't tell you where, I wasn't there when somebody made that up, but it seems to work. The thing is, liver 13, for example, is part of this whole Shaoyang thing, which the ear is part of. The stomach 25 is clearly from that, in my understanding. The REN 4, for example, you have another way to look at it, which is REN 4 is called Guan Yuan. Okay. This is a gate. This is, sorry, it's the other way around. The one is here. Okay. But this Yuan part, okay, doesn't exactly mean source. What it means is there's the legs here, and these two lines represent the head. So it means primary, coming from the head, as opposed to a source which usually has water, like Jing Well Point, like the well of things, the beginning of the water. This is the directive from the head. So REN 4 by name implies head. Okay, so, just like, we talked yesterday, you have stagnant blood in the head, that you've got damage in REN 4, from postpartum depression, for example. There's been too much trauma in the lower abdomen, and it comes and reflects on the head. Okay? So, then you have REN 9. If you have, which represents a weak dantian, or too much emotion, the heart cannot contain the emotions. Okay? That can come often with left side spleen 20, pressure pain also. Okay? And the solution to that is, I use Mushu. Okay? You can, or you should at least pay reverence to the fact that the original solution for REN 9 pulse is right side stomach 24 needled 80 degrees laterally, plus left GB26. Talking about GB26, GB26 releases the pectoralis. Okay, so if you have tight pectoralis, GB26 may resolve it. And in fact, there's a good chance that you'll have pressure pain on GB26. So then what you want to do is to release gallbladder 26, needle kidney 7 first, to release gallbladder 26, then needle gallbladder 26 to release the pectoralis. Sometimes kidney 7 will release both GB26 and the pectoralis. Okay. That's a big trick that you want to keep in mind for any sort of shoulder problems. Okay. The woman yesterday, when I tried that on her, it didn't do it, but it's like if you have tightness here, my shirt is tight here, I can't raise my arm because, see, my pectoralis is tight on the shirt. If I release, the arm can go up. So tight pectoralis and GB26 are correlated, okay? Because the pectoralis and the obliques touch each other, continue each other.
And what was the kidney point that went with that?
Kidney 7 is used for gallbladder 26. And you want to check gallbladder 26 for anybody who comes for any sort of musculoskeletal issue, because that's the axis in which you twist. So that can create back problems, knee problems, shoulder problems, things like that. So GB26 is a really important point to release and possibly needle when they have, a whole bunch of musculoskeletal problems if there's a twisting involved.
You do your location all the way up.
Basically take the navel, go all the way to the side, that's 2B26, and because it's an area, and if they're tight there, you can put 3 needles there, but if they're tight, first release it as much as you can with KB7. Okay? Then, we talked, yesterday I read 12, but let me talk for a moment about, some people have like a beam, you literally can see it or you can feel it, it's like popping up, a beam from stomach 21 one side to stomach 21 on the other side. Okay? So that beam, we call it pancreatitis tummy. It means a weak pancreas, basically. The treatment for that is one of the adrenal treatments, meaning kidney below the knee plus kidney 27. Which kidney below the knee, you're going to have to figure out. Plus spleen 5.
That's spleen what?
Spleen 5. Plus lung 5. Okay? There are times when we add lung 5 to adrenal treatments to make them stronger. Lung 5 is the water point on the metal channel. It's the metal is mother of water. We're strengthening the adrenal treatment by adding lung 5. Spleen 5 is our big point is one of our big anti-inflammatory points. So, from the name pancreatitis. Okay, I'm not saying that a beam across, it can be just a weak pancreas, but originally Nagano called it pancreatitis, and therefore it's an inflammation. And since the solution to pancreatitis is prednisone, or at least it used to be when Nagano was alive, so, the equivalent of giving people prednisone for us would be kidney 627. You look baffled.
Because you said a beam?
Beam, there, something goes across, stomach 21 to stomach 21.
Like visually or possibly?
Sometimes visually, you can literally see it popping up.
Okay.
And sometimes when you press, you're going to, ooh, there's like a little, beam with an M, not an N.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not like a stringiness.
It can be a little string, but it's usually wider than a string. It's usually it's at least an inch wide, and it's not, it usually isn't. It's usually, I wouldn't say it's soft, but compared to a string, I would say it has a softer quality. It's a hard mushy.
Then you do, sorry, the first line of, because my brain was stuck on the beam thing. Before you said kidney channel, you said something else first. What was it? So
Okay, if you have a beam going across from stomach 21 to stomach 21,
right.
Okay, then we call it pancreatitis tummy.
Right.
The solution to that is adrenal treatment.
Okay.
Okay, any kidney point below the knee plus 27.
Okay.
Plus spleen 5, anti-inflammatory point. So one of the things you want to remember is that spleen 5 is a big anti-inflammatory point. Plus lung 5 to strengthen the adrenal treatment part of it. Yes.
Is there a correlation to most of these to 5 elements, to the points that you're...
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. This is not a mathematical system, unlike some Japanese styles that are very 5-element oriented and stuff. We keep it in mind. It's not our big thing. But there's definitely explanations that will come from that. Yeah.
Isn't there also like a, sorry.
No, it's all right. I just noticed there's only been a few that you mentioned, the fire point and water in the middle.
There's a
And
fair
then
amount of
this
stuff.
last one.
Yeah, because that style is very big in Japan, there's a big influence of that style. But there's a whole bunch of things that seem to have nothing to do with element. I mean, one of the things you want to look at is that nobody knows, or at least nobody says they know, that I'm aware of, where Nagano, who supposedly is the father of this technique, got his stuff. Okay, we really don't know. What I can tell you is that he was not considered traditional. He was not part of some lineage in Japan. I don't know who he learned from. I don't know if whatever. He obviously learned from someone something and then developed it further himself. But he got started somewhere, because we all get started somewhere. But we don't know that, okay, or at least I don't know that. He was isolated. He lived in the south of Japan, in a relatively small coal mining community. And he was married to a Korean woman. So he was basically, he did not live in Tokyo. Okay, so that's already big minus. And he was married to basically someone who's considered a non-entity in Japanese society, especially at that time. Okay, 50s, 60s, 70s, you know. So he was never part of the establishment. You know, like, you know, some people are part of, you know, they are the establishment sort of thing. So he did his own kind of thing, and he was not part of like the different societies. Like, for example, there's the Toyohari. The Toyohari is one society in Japan. There's other societies in Japan. There was a society of people interested in all these metal, electrical conductivity, the Manaka people. You know, there's many different kinds of societies, and even within societies, there'll be different societies that they all, like, to me, I can't really tell much of a difference between Shudo Denmai, except by personality, and the Toyohari people. They look very, to me, as an outsider, relative, you know, they're very, very similar. You know, and they seem to speak the Spike-Element thing. That's very big in Japan. So, yeah, I mean, it will be like, since everybody, or most people in this country study TCM, if you go and create your own system, say if you do using the tong points, or Richard Tan, or whatever, you're still probably going to talk about it as, well, and this is a really good point for spleen dampness, even though, you know, I don't know if Master Tong ever cared about spleen dampness. I don't know. I'm not saying he did or didn't. So, because that's the language, that's the culture of acupuncture in this country, is primarily TCM. Okay? So, any American acupuncturist is likely to be using that language in the same way Nagano was using concepts that are common in Japanese acupuncture. But those are not the only concepts. He was definitely interested in modern medical understanding. And then you have to understand that we're getting it from Kiiko, for whom Nagano was not, well, she says he was her primary teacher, but she came to him way after she finished acupuncture school and had studied for a while with Manaka and then with Kawai. So she was already fairly, when I first met Kiiko, she was mostly doing Kawai style things, no longer Manaka, and she had just began bringing in the Nagano style. Okay, so and it took about 4 years before the system sort of became a system. There was a clarity, okay, this really is. And to remember that Nagano did it all from pulse, not from poking abdomen. Okay, so she took Nagano's ideas and what she saw him do in the clinic, and she translated it into something that she could do much more conveniently according to her own background, which was Manaka palpated abdomens relatively more aggressively, it appears, than most Japanese people do. He was a medical doctor. Okay. So, and medical doctors in the 50s used to poke. You know, the way we poke is just like MDs used to poke in the 50s. Not the way Japanese acupuncturists do, which is like this. Oh, it's wet, it's warm, it's this. They don't go in. That's not their method of palpation. They're very superficial, you know, in the way most of them palpate. This method is definitely different. Okay? So we're kind of a conglomeration of many different systems. Okay, and then each one of us is going to be a conglomeration of whatever else we came from, not just Kiiko. You know, so Kiiko is not, it's not very nice to say, but it's not like she's some purebred poodle. You know, she's a mutt, you know, with some very nice parents and great-grandparents who, you know, who may not be purebred either, and who cares? You know, it's like we don't have to be so, you know, I mean, in Japan it's very big, the lineage. And we're in some ways, we're really not a lineage. And it's like, that's obviously politically dangerous to say. But anyway, that's, but yeah, you will see lots of 5-element influences, because that's just the culture. Now, stomach 21 itself, now we're done with the beam. No more beam. Stomach 21 itself, we say is an ulcer reflex. Okay. If it's on the left side, we say it's stomach ulcer. If it's on the right side, we say duodenal ulcer. Okay. The treatment is the same. We use spleen 4, pericardium 6. Be aware that spleen 4 could be opposite side of the stomach 21. REN 12 itself, we talked about yesterday, is, we call weak rugae or weak stomach. The rugae is the stomach is a sac, okay? So, which is why REN 12 is the master point of all the 4 organs, okay? So other sacs in the body are things like the bladder, the uterus, and stuff. So remember, in gynecological problems, REN 12 can be of paramount importance, both as a reflex and eventually as a treatment. Don't ignore the fact that REN 12 has a strong effect on the uterus. Okay? And rugae tissue is tissue that slides over each other in order to be able to expand and contract backward. Okay? So the treatment for, if you find REN 12, is your trump card is going to be immune points, but before you go for that, look for kidney points, look for the stomach G points, look to release the neck, and then finally go for immune points. And if you find REN 12, bear in mind that you may find T5 on the back, because the innervation of the stomach comes from T5. Okay? REN 15 we call worry reflex, and the protocol for that is spleen 3 plus pericardium. Which pericardium? We don't know. We have to check pericardium 8. Pericardium 8 is painful. We do pericardium 3 and 5. Pericardium 8 is not painful. We have a choice between pericardium 6 and pericardium 4. REN 17 is anxiety reflex. It can be part of a cardiac reflex. And it can also, if you press it hard, it's a esophageal reflex. We'll do cardiac in a little bit. If it's anxiety, again, the treatment is just like REN 15, but before you do that, release the neck. And do immune, possibly, because it may be a lymphatic reflex, rather than just anxiety. Okay? So we have, hold on a second, we have 3, quote-unquote, emotional reflexes. REN 17, anxiety, REN 15, worry, REN 9, sadness. Okay? So just kind of bear that in mind. But then we have a whole bunch of other reflexes that reflect the autonomic nervous system. So just because we don't call them emotional, doesn't mean that they don't, bear relevance to it. Yeah.
For the anxiety part, or REN 17 reflecting anxiety, you said first treat the neck, or
release the neck, do immune point if it helps, to release lymphatics. Release the neck, Sanjo 8, or release the immune, which is part of releasing the neck in a sense, because you're releasing the lymphatics. Then go for your spleen 3 pericardium.
Okay, so it's a REN 15. Okay.
Which is the same as REN 15, yes. Kidney 25, 26, 24, 25, 26. If it's both sides, we call this area bronchial reflex. Okay, we don't use lung 1 so much as a lung reflex, even though that's the whole point. We kind of use the bronchies as the lung reflex. However, so we say the dogma is if it's both sides, it's lungs. Use lung 5 in all likelihood, maybe lung 8, okay, to release bronchial reflex. Then we say if it's only on the left side, it's supposed to be part of the cardiac presentation. That is not totally true. It's quite possible that you may have a cardiac presentation to begin with, but it's possible that you have a lung, the lung reflex only shows one side, just like adrenals only shows on one side. Sometimes. But the other side simply isn't showing. So it can still be a bronchial reflex even though it only shows on the left side. For some reason it only shows on the left side. Because you can also have just on the right side and not showing on the left side. Okay? So we're not saying if it's only on the right side, we're not saying it's a liver reflex or something. If it's a cardiac, so your cardiac reflexes are as follows. Red 17, stomach 18, pericardium 1, which I take, okay, you know how stomach 18 is at the root of the breast? Take the side root of the breast, and that's your pericardium 1. Do not bother with one cell away from the nipple. That's absurd. Okay, no, who wants to be popped? Even men don't want, you know, you're basically on the breast one cell away from the nipple. It's like, it's what kind of point is this? You know, no offense, but, you know, so really take it at the root of the breast, so you're really touching the rib cage here. Okay, so pericardium 1. Spleen, left spleen 20. And kidney 26, 25, 24 on the left side. On the front, those are your cardiac reflexes. On the back, small intestine 11. Compare the right side to the left side. Small intestine 11 often will have a gumminess to it. It will feel like a little ping pong, soft ping pong ball. On small intestine 11, on the left. Okay? So, solutions for cardiac are as follows. If the pulse is relatively large, or at least it's not a tiny pulse, we do, REN 4 will be the big thing we do. Okay? You have to consider a number of things for cardiac besides that. Now the other thing is, if they have a slow pulse, the equivalent of REN 4 is UB27. We're going to see that in a minute in autoimmune disorders as well. Okay? We check UB60, especially on the left side. UB60 again is a fire point. If UB60 is painful, we do UB66 and 67, metal and water. If UB60 is not painful, we try to do UB60 needled upwards. And we're testing that basically against small intestine 11 on the left side. And or UB42, 43, 44 on the left side. So people with cardiac will tend to show, Kiiko used to call it apricot feeling around small intestine 11. I call it like a soft ping pong. And she called it dried papaya and the inner border of the scapula because it's longer. Dried papaya. I mean, it's just cute names. It helps you remember. You know, apricot and small intestine 11 and dried papaya on the outer UV line. You know, inner border of the scapula. You know, on the left. So. The other thing is, in cardiac, you have to look at a few things. First of all, if they have edema in the legs. Now, eventually, what you want to do with cardiac is you want to needle into small intestine 11. If they have this, you know, if they have the apricot, you want to needle surround the apricot, and you want to needle the papaya towards the scapula, and you want to do direct moxa on it. However, this is the absolute last thing you're going to do. Not just because you're doing it on the back, it's the last needles you put in. You do not stimulate the heart directly until you've done everything else. So with cardiac, always address everything else first, then treat the cardiac, and then your last thing is you've got to do your UB60 deal, whatever else you do on the back, then you can stimulate the scapula in order to actually push the heart. One second. So what you need to look at is if you have edema in the legs, you cannot stimulate the heart until you started moving the water. It doesn't mean the edema got drained. So I don't want you to think like, okay, I have to wait 10 weeks before they urinate all the water in the legs first. No, move the water first, then you can do the cardiac treatment. Now, what does moving water first mean? Our points for moving water, our official combination is this. Spleen 3, spleen 7, you should find a dent on spleen 7, and spleen 11. That's on the front. On the back, actually, we prefer them on the side. The main point is gallbladder 25, the moon point of the kidney. Needle towards the spine. And then we stimulate the quadratus lumborum, which is the kidney muscle. Are you okay?
Oh, that's
So GB20, they're lying on their side, and we needle GB25 down towards the spine. That's, by the way, the same direction I need UB52, towards the spine. You're basically trying to stimulate the quadratus lumborum, which is the kidney muscle, to get the kidney to move some of the fluids. You've moved the fluids with the spleen points. Now you need to get rid of those fluids with a kidney point. So, by stimulating the kidney. Stimulating the kidney, we use UB20, UB23, UB25, and then UB28. Okay? Because you're basically surrounding the quadratus lumborum. Make sense? Okay? And then you flip them to the other side, and you do the same thing on the other side. So, even if you do just like 5 to 10 minutes each side, that's okay. But it's not as good to do it face down. Okay? It's better to do it on the side. So if they have water retention, you need, because you don't want to push the heart, get the heart to be stronger. When there's edema in the legs, now the heart is like pumping stronger, but it's pumping against edema that's not moving. You have to at least start to get the edema to move a little bit, so that the heart, so you're not shocking the heart and making it go stronger, then it gets stuck. Okay, so that's why it's so important. If they have a very weak pulse, use spleen 3, or you can use, if they actually have anemia, use spleen 6 and pericardium 6. Those are our points for anemia. Now that P6 can be replaced by P4, by the way, but that's a different story. If they have a very big pulse, any sort of chest symptoms, okay, whether it's lung symptoms or heart symptoms, do not use spleen 3 or 4 without checking the pulse first. We do not use spleen 3 if the pulse is big, and we do not use spleen 4 if the pulse is small. We believe that spleen 3 sends blood to the heart. It's for ischemic heart conditions. And spleen 4 pulls blood away from the heart. It's for enlarged heart conditions.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. Spleen 3 we use with a weak pulse. We say it's for ischemia, lack of blood in the heart. It sends blood towards the heart. Spleen 4, it's the chum. It disperses. We use it for a quote-unquote enlarged heart. For when the pulse is big, we want to pull the blood away from the heart. Okay? So they're contradictory points. So in chest, when somebody has chest issues, make sure you took the pulse before you use either spleen 3 or spleen 4. If there are no chest issues, you can just go ahead and use spleen 3 or spleen 4 regardless. It's not going to be a big deal. But for the chest, if the main issue is like something like asthma or cardiac, be very careful, and if you have to use the opposite point that you wanted, okay, like you're thinking, well, spleen 4 is the best, the pulse is too big for spleen 3, but spleen 3 is the thing that releases all the reflexes, and spleen 4 doesn't do anything. It can happen. Stay in the room for a little bit and keep coming back. Because I've seen cases where something goes, the patient gets very agitated, they don't feel good. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. There are a few warnings like that, but not on the left. One of them is slow pulse, don't needle abdomen, rapid pulse, don't needle the spine. Now, the problem with rapid, I agree with the slow pulse with the abdomen. Since I've seen both Kiiko and myself violate the rapid pulse, we still needle the spine. And I've seen different excuses for why we can do it. And every time it changes, well, you can do this one, but not this one. You can do it on the spine, you can, but away from the spine. It changes all the time. I once asked Kiiko exactly, what's the story? And she said something like, I have no clue why he thought that. She said, the slow pulse we understand. If you have a slow, because stimulating the lower abdomen slows the pulse down. So if you have a slow pulse, you do not want to stimulate the lower abdomen. The rapid pulse, I don't totally understand. And then that's why I don't follow it so much. What Kiiko said was, sometimes, when you're in your first years of practice and you have somebody come in and you do something and it's like a total disaster. Like I had a woman who was diabetic who went into insulin shock because needles lowering glucose levels, and she just went into total insulin shock. The table was wet, not just with sweat, but urine too. Okay, so you can imagine how much more careful I am with people, diabetics, just make sure they don't go into any diabetic shocks, because I don't want to wash that many sheets ever in my life. Okay, so, she doesn't know what he never said, what it was, but she believes that it's possible that this warning came from, he had a patient with rapid pulse, he did something on the spine, something bizarre happened. And he decided maybe it's because it's rapid pulse and made himself a rule, I'll never do this again. So we don't know what it is, we don't have that experience, but it's, and so I don't know how much reverence to pay for it or not, but the slow pulse don't needle abdomen, I do. Spleen 3 for weak pulse, I do. Spleen 4 for strong, big pulse, I do. And don't mix the spleen 3 and spleen 4 if they have symptoms above the diaphragm. Okay? Christine.
Sorry, so I didn't understand. Spleen 3, spleen 4, get small pulse, you only do if they have symptoms above the diaphragm.
I care about it if the symptoms are above the chest. Otherwise, listen, I use
Cardiac symptoms?
cardiac or lung.
Okay.
It's in the chest also.
But
My
they
lungs
have
in my
like
chest.
cold rib, shoulder pulse.
Oh, no.
That's fine.
Organic.
Okay. My other question before, you said small intestine 11 and that's bladder 244. So are you saying don't treat those until they've been totally cleared? And then you
No.
Or you
Treat
have to do the other protocols no matter.
Do the other protocols first. Eventually, when you get to needling your papaya and apricot, when you have your dessert, it has to be really dessert. Your main meal has to be completed. Now, they may still have pressure pain, they may have none. You can still needle and do direct moxa on it. And they may have relatively more puffiness and pressure pain still there. It's okay to needle them, but not before you've addressed it to the extent that you can and got rid of edema or other symptoms.
Are you doing that in the same visit?
Yes. Absolutely in the same visit. You don't need to get rid of the edema and wait until the legs are skinny. It's not going to happen. But you do need to stop pushing that water so that when the heart is stronger, it's not pumping against like a block. Okay? So your cardiac treatments are basically Ren4, unless they have a really tiny pulse. Treat spleen, either spleen 3 or spleen 4 if it's relevant, or edema or whatever you can. Liver 1 is often, now in Kiiko's book, it appears to people like liver 1 is a cardiac point. It isn't, it's a secondary option. It's a helping point because liver is mother of fire. Okay, so if you have a liver issue, it may show up as a cardiac. That's true, by the way, in Western medicine too. If you have high cholesterol, you're going to get a blockage in the heart. Okay, the liver has a very strong influence because it holds a lot of blood and it affects the quality of the blood. Okay, what do you call it? It's like a sieve. It cleans the blood. If the blood's not clean, it comes to the pump and it gets all stuck. Okay, so, and coumadin, for example, affects the liver. So liver and cardiac are good, need to be checked together. Yes.
Would you do it unilateral or bilateral?
The liver 1, right side.
Right.
Now, and on the back, what you have is check your UB60. Okay. And according to either UB66 and 67 or UB60 itself, you can needle sacroiliac, UB27, small intestine shoe point. Then you can needle small intestine 910 to open up more the inner border of the scapula. Now, and then of course do whatever else you do, like do 2, T11, T12, and T5. Now you can do your apricot and your papaya.
Where is the papaya again?
Small intestine 11. Oh no, sorry, papaya is UB42, 43, 44. Okay, so it kind of looks like this. Okay, so here's your apricot, and here's your papaya. Okay?
Is it recommended always do moxa on the bladder tube, no papaya,
Yeah.
even if it's warm to the touch?
Even if it's warm to touch, yeah. This kind of direct moxa is not a heating moxa, it's dissolving connective tissue. That's my understanding of what direct moxa does.
How she says it, if the surface feels cold, you do.
Yeah, okay.
And
Yeah.
underneath feels cold. you do.
Yeah, so, but that's, okay. You also do direct moxa on points that are cold, especially in the feet and the hands, because their circulation is bad, so the needle is not going to move, not going to get things moving. Okay, so we like to do moxa. Now, but when we do that, because again, it's the connective tissue, we're trying to dissolve the connective tissue to get that movement going. However, in the abdomen or the buttocks, sometimes the skin can be warm, but when you press in, and you're going at this point beyond the connective tissue layer, right under, and it's freezing inside, that's when we do what's called Kyutoshin. Okay? That's a metal handled needle, and then you put a big glob of moxa on it. Okay? I personally don't do Kyutoshin ever anymore. I'm done. I'm like, I do not want to smell like marijuana or anything else. Okay, it's awful. Now I know there's smokeless ones, etc., but I just don't do it. What I do is I take a sock, I put corn in it, animal feed corn, I put it in the microwave for 5 minutes, and I put it wherever it needs to be warmed up. It's just, in my opinion, it's just as good as Kyutoshin. Okay, and the patients like it just as much. You know, so. But if you like Kyutoshin, you know, big moxa globs on the needle, and you have the capacity to deal with it in terms of ventilation, go for it. So, but I do a fair amount of direct moxa, which is called okyu. And of course, there's, you know, in Japan it's very much like that. If you do it and you pick it up with these fingers, it's called yakyakutsu, and if you pick it up with these two fingers, it's called yakyakyakyakutsu, and if you snuff it, there's, you know, there's that many names of, you know, there's people who teach classes on Japanese moxa techniques. And in my opinion, personal opinion, I've never done it, I don't know, maybe it's fabulous. Just do the moxa the way you can, and like the way Kiiko does it, she gets, nowadays, she gets slightly bigger amount of moxa, puts it on, and she snuffs it and lights it again. I have a video, it's like a 10-minute video, at least it was the camera person, that shows you how to do direct moxa. It's not that big a deal, it takes time to practice. The big thing about direct moxa, that I would say, it's a very linear class, you know. Well, we will finish everything. What people try and do, at the beginning I recommend, you're going to want to take a tiny piece of incense, because it's not, you're going to feel uncomfortable holding a big piece of incense. It's going to feel clunky to you. If you can, you do this. I don't do this. I do it like that. But the more elegant way is to do it with, you know, because it's further away. What you do with the moxa is basically roll it very lightly, and then you pinch a teeny amount, and you land it, and you light it. What you're going to want to do is this. You're going to want to do something like this. You're going to take the piece, you're going to want to hold the incense in this hand, the left hand, if you're right-handed. You're going to land your moxa, and now you're going to want, since it's hard to light it with the left hand, you're going to switch, and you're going to light, and you're going to switch back. That takes a lot of time. So, I'm telling you, just choke the incense stick, pinch a piece, land it, and light it. You're already here. All you have to do is switch, you know, turn the hand over. It's very easy, very fast. If the grain is too big, you snuff it and light it again. You're right there. All this switching of hands, you're too afraid. You know, and you just have to get used to holding the incense that way. If you happen to like doing it this way, I don't feel so comfortable with that. I still do this. Okay, so I'm probably considered a big barbarian if I, you know, in Japan. So, the correct way is, you know, they probably have like exactly where in the figure it's supposed to touch. You know, this is not correct, this is, you know, but I don't, you know, Japanese, they love this, you know, it's like flower arrangement. You know, it's about have the discipline to do it the correct way. So not because it's, you know, the thing is, it's not about does it make a difference to the patient, it's about does it make a difference to the way your mind is training itself. So I can appreciate it, but, you know, it's like how many of you can do this thing where you turn the needle back into the guide tube? Yeah, I'm the same way, maybe. You know, some Japanese people, it's amazing. They pop it with the left hand, and while they're doing this, they can flip the needle into the gaijin, and they put it in, take it out, flip it back in. It's incredible. So Kiiko once asked me about some practitioner who will be named nameless right now. What I thought of this person, he said, oh my God, I think you're going to ask more actually, but you know, I'm not going to tell you that because I don't know what your relationship with him is. So I said, well, he has very beautiful hands. It's one of those people who can do this thing. She looks at me like, and she goes, who cares? Everybody in Japan can do this. It's like it's an idiotic trick. And then she goes, you know, the reason why they can all do this, you're not allowed to needle when you're in school in Japan. They don't needle until they're licensed. They're not allowed to. There's no practical, you know, in needling, only in moxa. Okay? Therefore, for 4 years, all they do to train their, I mean, we use soap, right? Or whatever you did, or I don't know, you know, we use soap. You know, other people may have used other things. But, you know, so we were training our hands that way, and then on people, they have 4 years, and all they can do is this. Okay, so you get to be really good at doing this. You know how to insert a needle into gaijin backwards. So it's not that important. And you know, like this thing where some Japanese people go tick, 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 tick. I think it's horrible. But really, and I've worked with people and they all say the same thing. It's actually the patient, especially you're doing this thing so the patient won't feel. But when you just, you know, just jab the needle in, it's not going to go very far. The patient doesn't feel anything. You accomplish much more of what you wanted, in my opinion. Now, it's one thing if you're doing the what the Toihari people do, which is not insert the needle. That's a whole different story. You know, you're not inserting the needle, you're holding the needle over the skin, fine. But if you're actually getting the needle in, just tap it in. Don't do this whole, you know, because then the patient goes, it's uncomfortable for the nervous system. Okay? Okay, that was the discussion on moxa. Let's move on. Liver. Liver shows under the ribs. Okay, sometimes it will also show on liver 14. Okay, but the main point we're checking is under the ribs and a fair amount of area here. Okay, and compare the left to the right. Okay, now if they go like they're not going ouch. Okay, if they're going ouch, it's very obvious. We call that liver excess. Okay, if they go maybe or a little tight or uncomfortable, we call that liver deficiency. Also, if I'm not sure, you can pinch the left side and the right side. If you feel, first of all, they'll tell you that the two sides are different. And like I told you, in this country, for the most part, if there's something different, blame the liver. Don't blame the spleen. Okay? You will feel on the liver side, the right side, like your fingers are picking up more skin. Whereas on the left side, you have to do it on the skin. Your sweater doesn't have a liver problem. No, just kidding. So when you're pinching and you're picking up more on the right side, like you can't, this is more refined and this is less refined on the right side, that's a liver deficiency. Liver deficiency officially is liver 1. By the way, just one more thing on cardiac. Under the second toe, where the toe meets the foot, the center of the toe. Under the second toe is a good point for tachycardia, left side only. Okay, so we use it a lot for cardiac patients. Yeah.
Isn't that also for heartburn?
For what?
Heartburn?
There is a point where you bend the second toe and where it would meet the ball of the foot, a little below, not quite the direct point. That's food poisoning.
No, okay.
I don't know.
That's just something for heartburn. I'll look at it.
It might be, it can feel very much like cardiac thing, so I don't know. Yes.
How did you go from liver to tachycardia?
Oh, because I was talking about liver 1, and I remember that liver 1 is the sporting point for cardiac, and I remember that I never told you about this.
Okay.
That's all. Nothing spectacular. We're back to liver.
Would you say more chopped? Like the skin on the left is more chopped compared to the right?
Yeah, it's almost like it's fatty on the right side. Like it's as if you have more fat on the right side, so you can't grab the skin only. You're grabbing the skin with some fat underneath.
Okay.
That's what I would say. Now, Just for knowledge in general, liver 1 has, we say, has 4 locations, and at different times in your life and different patients, you will find different effective liver 1s. We have more than 4. So this is the nail. So liver 1 and pericardium 9 are not normal gingival points, right? Okay, pericardium is here. Pericardium 9 is here. Okay, it's not a normal gingival point. We actually have a liver 1 that's here. That's not the one we'll use, which we use for red eyes. It's a moxibustion we use for red eyes. Forget that. Now, you have your regular gingival point, which is at the corner, kind of just, if you just made if the nail was square, that would be your gingival point. But the gingival point is defined as whatever, 3 hairs away or something. So basically you have a joint here. And so you have your gingival, you have one on the joint, and you have one halfway between the gingival and the joint. So those are 3. Now, you have one also here in the center. And you could also have one just off the nail. So you actually have quite a few liver ones to choose from. Personally, right now, I find this one to be the most effective one. If it was going to be the gingival point, not the official gingival point. That's number 1 is, this is number 1, this is number 2, 3, 4. Okay. Number 1 is the one I find the most effective for me. Number 2, which is the official gingival point, Kiiko likes number 4. Okay. But it will change from patient to patient, and you will probably find that you tend to have a certain, liver 1 that you tends to work for more patients than others. Okay. So liver deficiency, where it's dull pain on the, under liver 14, that's liver 1. Excess, you have a few types of liver excess. Okay. The kind that has physical liver damage, they've had hepatitis, with maybe cirrhosis, or they've had radiation therapy or chemo, there's actual physical liver damage clear in the liver. We use, on the right side only, kidney 7, spleen 7, heart 3, and pericardium 4, which is 3 fingers below pericardium 3. Okay? So that's kidney 7, spleen 7, heart 3, pericardium 4. That comes from a phrase in Nanjing, I believe it's Nanjing 72, but I might be wrong here, that says something about when the lung cannot control the liver, okay, because lung is supposed to be the control of the liver, tonify the mother, tonify the water, and reduce the fire. What that phrase basically says, when you look at it, when you kind of think about it, what it's trying to say to you is there's no such thing as liver excess, pure liver excess, that the liver is always going to have a mix of excess and deficiency. You see that in herbal prescriptions. Okay? There is no prescription out there that has only, Longdansao, the liver dredgers, without, or even Chaihu, okay, without Dangwei or Baishao in it. Okay, so even if you're using Jinzi, Longdansao, those kinds of herbs, there's always going to be a blood tonic in that formula. I'm not aware of any formula that they say dredges the liver that does not have either Dangwei or Baishao in it, because you've got to protect the liver blood. It's a recognition that the liver does not really have a pure excess, even though it appears to be that way. Because if the liver is like a sponge, it contains a lot of blood. When the blood dries out, the sponge gets thorny. And that's when you get what you call the liver yang, whatever, qi congestion, yang rising, whatever. Okay? So you've got to protect liver blood. So tonifying mother is a strategy. Tonifying the kidney, which is kidney 7, and to us, spleen 7 is a point on the spleen channel that has kidney functions. We use spleen 7 for earaches, ear infections. We use it for moving water. Remember spleen 3, spleen 7, spleen 11? That's kind of a little bit of a kidney function. And we use spleen 7 in this case for liver. Okay. We consider spleen 7 to be a point that is kind of has kidney functions. Kidney 7, spleen 7 is tonified kidney, which is the mother of wood. Okay. Heart 3, pericardium 4 is reduced fire, which is what you would do for liver excess. So in liver excess, you've got to tonify as well as reduce. Okay. That's what this combination came from. Okay. Right side, kidney 7, spleen 7, heart 3, pericardium 4. It's a fabulous combination. Really, it's very effective for people with literal physical damage in the liver. Okay. Then you have there's another liver excess that we say, for example, people who are either alcoholics or were alcoholics, but without yet physical damage, or they come from families of alcohol consumption of many generations. They usually will also show liver 2 pressure pain. If that's the case, we use liver 4, liver 8. We're talking about the right side now. Then you have a kind of liver excess that shows as mouth sores. Now in TCM, that's considered perhaps stomach fire. For us, we consider that to be liver excess. Okay, so herpes would be in that category too. Mouth sores. So we use liver 3 and spleen 3 for that, both sides. And what you can do is you can ask them with a tongue to touch a mouth sore, and they feel what it's like sour or raw or whatever it is. And then you press liver 3, spleen 3 and liver 3 together, both sides, and you ask them to touch with a tongue again, or with their hand if they want, I don't know. And then they usually say, oh wow, it's quite a bit reduced. Okay? So that's a third kind of liver excess.
Liver 3 and spleen 3, or?
Yeah. Then you have the undefined liver. Now, we also have something we use a fair amount of that's called fatty liver type. Okay. Now, fatty liver really is a medical diagnosis that comes out of blood tests. Or actually it should be, like there's like fat in the liver cells. So it's a biomedical definition, but we're looking at it. So yes, it could be someone who's producing a lot of cholesterol, that would be one type. But also we think like the obese type is a fatty liver type. Okay. So that treatment, okay, I'm going to give you the original treatment and I'm going to give you the shortcut. Okay. The original treatment is you start on the left gallbladder 26, left stomach 27, red 6 unless the pulse is slow. Don't use red 6. Right side stomach 25, right side liver 13. That's the complete fatty liver treatment. Okay. However, that treatment, do this full, all 5 needles, unless it's 4 needles if there's no way 4 if the pulse is slow. Use the full treatment if somebody's huge. You don't need the whole treatment unless they're very big. If they're just chubby or whatever, use right side stomach 25, right side liver 13. That's your fatty liver treatment. Okay? The reason why you need to start on the left side is when a person's, very big, you need to shuttle things. The fat is resisting the stimulation of the needles. You need to give it a push. So for example, a very fat person, if you do points on the spleen or the kidney on the lower leg, they're not going to be as effective until you shuttle them up with a point on the thigh. You're going to want to push the stimulation with a point on the thigh, because all this weight, you're trying to push something up, and all the weight is saying no, no, no. So you have to kind of give it a little extra lift besides the point you're using below the knee. Okay? So then you have another liver type, we can call it the detox liver type, where we use kidney 9 and large intestine 15. Now, there is a kidney 9, you will hear people talk about detox kidney 9. So kidney 9, we say, is at the base of the gastrocnemius. There's another kidney 9, 3 fingers below kidney 10, which is at, the muscle bumps, and then it kind of, so at the top of the bump, at the bottom of the bump. Okay, so kidney 9 is at the bottom, and detox kidney 9 is at the top of the bump. However, okay, you see the muscle goes like this? It doesn't go like this into kidney 10. There's a little dip here. So at the bottom of the dip, that's the detox kidney 9. This kidney 9 we use for if people are addicted or have issues with opiates.
What?
Opiates, painkillers. The kidney detox kidney 9, which is 3 fingers below kidney 10, is for detox from painkillers or opiates, not all chemicals. In other words, if the issue is, I'm exposed to paint fumes, or I live next to a nuclear plant, or something like that, this is not your kidney 9 you want. You want the regular kidney 9. Okay? And that goes with large intestine 15 together. And the large intestine 15 you can check against the liver or you can check it against the thyroid. If they have a detox issue with the liver, chances are the thyroid will show also. Thyroid is a metabolic gland. Okay, it's going to show most likely. Okay, and then also if it's an undefined, sometimes you can't say liver excess, liver this, you're not sure. Okay, there's a good chance kidney 9 some people also have mixed. It's sharp pain on liver 14, but dull pain under the ribs. And you're kind of like, is it really excess? Is it really deficiency? I'm not sure. Neither treatment seems to work very well. Kidney 9 has a good chance of working. Gallbladder 27, 28, stomach 30 area, leading towards the leg, has a good chance of releasing this. And then if you go, we have a point, go to do 20, go to the side. But we say between the bladder channel and the gallbladder channel, you will find a dent. That's a good little point. Originally that point we used on the left side and we called it the malaria point. Okay? And that's really to treat the spleen. And then we kind of realized that if it treats the spleen on the left side, probably releases the diaphragm and will, on the right side, it will probably treat the liver, and it does.
So the liver point's only on the right.
The liver, the same point on the left side is spleen, on the right is malaria. On the right side, it's liver. Same exact point, just different sides is called something different. Okay?
Between 220 and...
Level of 220, go sideways, between lateral, somewhere between the bladder and the gallbladder channel. You'll find a dent. Okay? So, we talked about gallbladder 26 as axis of twisting. Solve it first. Oh, sorry, back to liver. On the back liver will show supposedly between T7 and T9, either on the Matos or on the bladder line. And you're going to want to do left side UB35 to resolve it. Liver shows on the back level of T7 to T9, UB18 area, either on the Matos or the bladder line, and we solve that with left UB35. Okay? So all livers, deficient, excess, whatever, unknown, they all get the same treatment on the back. On the front, you get lots of options. On the back, there's only one option. Okay? GB26 we talked about is twisting syndrome. Okay, solve it with kidney 7 first, then needle with GB26. It's very good treatment for various musculoskeletal issues that involve a twist. Lots of things involve a twist. For example, you've been in a car accident, you were wearing a seat belt, there's a good chance you had a twist. If you go skiing, there's a good chance you have an car injury, there's a good chance you have a twist. You can also have a torque. They're different. Okay? A twist is everything is twisted. A torque is a smaller portion is like rotating around itself. So there's a somewhat of a difference. I can't quite explain that.
So what is the treatment for the twist? Sorry, I didn't.
Twist is gallbladder 26, do kidney 7 first, then do GB26. Torque is GB34. Master of torque. Yes.
Lateral midline points okay with the...
Sorry?
Are lateral midline points okay with vaginal? Only on the abdomen. Like
It's
on
only...
the side, it's okay.
Okay, so notice... Notice that REN 6... Remember the fatty liver treatment? Okay? If it's a obese person, start left gallbladder 26, left stomach 27, REN 6 unless the pulse is slow. So this is the problem, the dogma is unclear. Supposedly only the how far away from the center can you go with a slow pulse? GB26 was always allowed, always. The center was always forbidden, at least below the navel. And this, like stomach line has always been slightly unclear. Yeah, it's one of those things. So basically, if you're talking to me, as opposed to, like, what I can tell you is, if I'm needling somebody with a slow pulse, and I'm needling something in the abdomen, not GB26, but inside the spleen line, I'm going to stay in the room for a few moments, and I'm going to come back, at some point in the middle of the treatment, just to make sure that they do not go berserk. You know how some people, you come back in the room and they tell you how they've been wanting out for the last 10 minutes. That's the kind of thing that I find can happen. A few more abdominal findings, because those are going to be very important for you, because we have so many women patients and gynecology is a big deal. Kidney 13 reflects the uterus. Stomach 28 reflects the ovaries. Okay? It's purely by location. The uterus is in the middle, and the ovaries are further to the side. So the line is the same, level with Ren 4. Okay? But the kidney ones reflect the uterus, and the stomach point, stomach 20, reflects the ovaries. Now, in spite of that, having said that, the treatment, ovaries, although they reflect on the stomach channel, the treatment is on the kidney channel. The ovaries clearly belong to the kidneys. Your best friend for ovaries is generally kidney 7. But it could be another kidney point, so just know that the ovaries and kidneys go together. Uterus goes with either the spleen or the liver. If you want to get very technical and fancy about it, but not necessarily 100% correct, you could say the liver is uterus and the fallopian tubes are spleen. I think that's a very fancy thing to say, but I'm not sure that I find that it's correct for me. Okay? So, because the uterus has a lot of blood, it's a blood-oriented thing, therefore it's clearly in the liver. So even though it reflects in the kidney channel, it's treated by the liver and the spleen. Now, what will treat it? Okay, so if you have lots of bleeding, we use spleen 7. If you have cramping, uterine cramping, we use spleen 3. Spleen 3 is the point we use for any muscle cramps. Okay? Therefore, the uterus also. Fibroids or cysts are liver 8. Liver 8 is your point for any cyst or fibroid. Okay? Whether it's in the ovary or whether it's in the uterus. Yeah? You could add, but no, don't forget you have to look into, is the hormones involved? Do you feel that there's a hormone component? In that case, UB66 and kidney 10 are good options also. But if you do just about cysts, shrinking cysts, that's liver. Cysts are considered a liver issue. Okay? So, by the way, I'm not the best resonance with kidney 10. Kidney 10 is not my favorite point, so I may be giving information because you asked about kidney 10, I might be dismissing it too fast. So just to bear in mind that these are my biases. Endometriosis is liver 5. You want to find a hole in the bone. It's going to be higher than 5 Tsun up. Okay? It might be closer to where you think liver 6 is, but make sure it's on the bone. For me, the liver channel is this line here. It's on the bone. It's not behind the bone. That's the spleen channel behind the bone. On the bone is the liver channel. And you will find that some people, you come and you feel a little dent, and when you press on it enough, and yeah, it's not showing on me. I don't have endometriosis. Yeah, so there'll be a hole, like a pitting edema. Spleen 7, the same, it's actually the same level as spleen 7, and it will be behind the bone. And again, there'll be like either a nodule on spleen 7 or pitting edema when you press on it. Okay? So spleen 7, kidney 9, liver 5 are all generally in the same vicinity. the same level. They're just different. Kidney 9 is usually a little bit lower. Okay. Any gynecological, okay, do you want to go through gynecological problems now? Do you want? Okay. So, fair enough. So any kind of gynecology issue, what you want to do is check, because of the blood supply and nerve supply, you need to check certain areas, okay? First of all, check that there's no tension in the inguinal. Check that there's no tension in the inner thigh. Okay, that's on the front. So besides kidney 13 and stomach 28, make sure that liver 12 area is free and that the inguinal is free. Otherwise, there's congestion, so you need to free those. For the inguinal, you have a number of choices. One of them will be liver 4, another one of them will be kidney 9. If they're very big, large-chested women, or the belly is falling over, we call that visceral ptosis type, we use stomach 13, needled outwards towards 1-1.
The inguinal pain for like...
Yeah, that's for the inguinal.
And they're large.
And they're large. So everything is falling on this poor ligament. You've got to lift it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so stomach 13 is also good for large-breasted or large-bellied people, with back pain. Okay. Then you have to check the sacroiliac joint. Okay, for gynecology, always check it and release it with gallbladder 34. Make sure, after you've released it, you can also needle it, and if you like to do moxa or heat it up in some manner, if when you press you find that it's really cold. Okay. And also check the piriformis. Okay. Because if the buttocks is cold, the blood circulation into the abdomen comes from the legs. It's a venous return. The artery goes to the legs. The venous return comes back, goes to the small intestine, goes into the portal vein. So you got your oxygen and food supply going to the legs. Then the blood picks up the CO2, waste matters, comes into the abdomen, now picks up new food from the small intestine, goes to the liver to be detoxified, goes up to the lungs, gives up the CO2, picks up new oxygen, so now the blood has food supplies that are being detoxified and enzymatically worked on by the liver, fresh oxygen. Now you go to the heart. Now it's going to go back down through the artery to the legs. Okay? The abdomen is actually in many ways supplied by venous return. Okay? So, now, it's not 100% like that, but there is a sort. So making sure that the areas between the legs and the lower abdomen are free, the buttocks and the inguinal inner thigh are very important. If you have inner thigh blockage, you need to figure out, is it on the kidney channel, the liver channel, or the spleen channel? Okay? If it's on the kidney channel, chances are kidney 7 will release it. If it's on the liver channel, chances are liver 4 will release it. If it's on the spleen channel, chances are spleen 9 will release it. So first you need to do the like what's going on there. Also check L5 or any gynecological problem, because that's the parasympathetic plexus. The sacral parasympathetic plexus is going to supply. Okay? Then, always consider a bunch of conditions in gynecology. Okay? First of all, thyroid, make sure in that thyroid reflects around stomach 9. Use kidney points to release thyroid. So, again, this is not all separate. Okay, they have stomach 28 uterus, ovary reflex, I need to use kidney points. Well, they happen to have thyroid also. So now the kidney point you want to use is the one that's going to resolve both the thyroid and the ovary reflex. It's not do one and then go, oops, by the way, what happened to the other? Do them all together. Okay? People can have pituitary issues, which will affect their hormones. Okay. If it's a true pituitary issue, especially if somebody took birth control and didn't like the birth control, like they could tell, that's a SMOI just in 3. However, otherwise, and pituitary will show, if you want a reflex for pituitary, it's UB2 and around GB20, the occiput. These are, or lateral to GB20. Okay? And that, if it's not like a birth control taker, chances are it's UB66. Okay? Then always consider blood pressure. Do they have either weird or low blood pressure? And fix that. Blood pressure treatment, like we talked about yesterday, is spleen 6, spleen 9, plus pericardium, meaning check pericardium 8, plus under the 3rd toe. And then also check for autonomic nervous system sensitivity. In other words, check the neck and release it. So this is another. So your first thing you do, you check your gynecological reflexes, you check the leading area to it, the postural area, meaning the inguinal, the inner thigh, sacroiliac joint, piriformis, and L5. Okay. Next, look at historically what the body shows from palpation. What do they have? Hormonal conditions, thyroid conditions, low blood pressure, or autonomic nervous system. Treat those. Then move on to treat specific syndromes in gynecology. So any kind of cyst is liver aid. That's true for breast cysts also. They can touch the breast and you can feel a cyst, and then you press it. Oh, this is not good. The window's open. She'll be okay. We can open the door in the back. Maybe she'll.
The door should be stuck in the hallway.
Yeah,
They know the road apparently. That's good. No, she came back. Do you have a sandwich or want something? Mark.
Get on the table.
So they can touch the cyst. Women often can touch a cyst in the breast and they can feel it. And then you press. So you ask them touch it, and then let go of the pressure. Just keep your finger there. And then you press them with your foot. Do you have a cyst? Then you press them liver 8, and they press again, and they say, "Wow, it's much smaller." That's very standard. She doesn't know how to get out, or he. So any kind of cyst, whether it's a fibroid in the case of uterus, whether it's a cyst on the ovary, or whether it's a cyst, in the breast, that's liver 8. Or a cyst anywhere else in the body, still is liver 8. Cramps are spleen 3. Now, a good friend of spleen 3 for muscle cramping is we call OD sphincter point. You take your navel and the ribs on the right side, go 45 degrees angle. And halfway between the ribs and the navel is the point we call OD sphincter point, or right side stomach 22. Stomach 22 is called Guan Men, the gate of gate. Okay? So it's where it's the OD sphincter is a gate for the gallbladder and the pancreas as well. It's double gated. So
It's halfway between.
halfway from the navel to the ribs at an angle of 45 degrees. That's what we call OD sphincter point. And we needle that for any sort of cramps, as well as bruise-like feeling. Pain that feels like a bruise, like raving pain. That's OD.
With spleen 3
With spleen 3 is considered more for muscle, and OD is considered somewhat more for, bruise type. But it would be a combination of reducing cramps. Too much bleeding is spleen 7, preferably with moxin. Endometriosis is liver 5. Liver 5 is definitely a loss of point. It's not really a needle. It's on the bone, like where are you going to needle? Any sort of inflammation is spleen 5 and liver 5 and with ocute, with moxin. Hormonal headaches, which means behind the eye or UV2 area, we use liver 2, heart 3, and the official combination says UV59, but you can use GB39. Either one will work.
You said it was a
Yeah, for hormonal headache, yeah. Liver 2, heart 3, and UV59 or GB39. It's going to be the same, the difference is, one is like 2 fingers behind it, it's not a big deal. And needle upwards in both cases. And we talked about postpartum depression. That shows into 20. That's spleen 6, spleen 9, lung 5, plus pericardium. Very similar to the blood pressure treatment. Now, hot flashes. The official done of hot flashes is the following, is adrenal, just like TCM. They will often show that they may or may not show adrenal, but do it anyway. And then they will probably show something under the ribs, tight diaphragm. And they may show red 17 as well. The treatment is adrenal, so it's a similar ideology to TCM in that sense. But then we add spleen 9, needle upwards, gallbladder 34, needle towards spleen 9, plus then we do gallbladder 27, 28, the inguinal, towards the leg. Remember that, gallbladder 27, 28, inguinal towards the leg releases the diaphragm. Okay. Other things to consider is this area here, inner yin area above the knee, whether it's on the kidney or the liver channel, is a hormonal area. Okay, so you'll find many women who have bumpy lower thigh. So you want to smooth that, you want to needle into it. Okay. Pericardium 4 is a point that we consider to be sending blood to the abdomen. Okay. We use spleen 6 and pericardium 6 for anemia, because some gynecological complaints have anemia in it. And yeah, don't forget to check autonomic nervous system. It's somewhat less obvious in women than it is with men. With men, it's very clear. Your least stomach 9, your stomach 9, and your genital problems get better. With women, it's a little less. The clarity is not so strongly there, but it's still something you need to look into. There's another combination that I like of gynecology that doesn't come from this style, and that's spleen 6 on the left, spleen 6 on the right, Ren 12 in the center, and Sanjar 4, but we use Sanjar 4 exactly in the center. We don't go lateral to the tendon, it's kind of between the two tendons, because this on the left side. So spleen 6 on the right, Ren 12, and Sanjar 4 on the left. And it's actually a moxa combination. So
what is this for, this protocol
for
for?
any kind of gynecological issue.
Okay.
So now other things, obviously UB32 is considered a women's point. Don't forget a few things. Okay, on the back, you have UB32. You have your sacroiliac ligaments, and you also have small intestine 13 or Sanjar 15 area is considered posterior pituitary reflex. And don't forget that heart shoe. The heart is still a blood organ. Okay, so we often think of blood as just liver and spleen, and then often what I'll do is I'll use heart shoe UB15 to release UB32. Kind of strange that it does that, but it really does. So just know that. So it gives you, but also with any hormonal issue, check small intestine 13, Sanjar 15 area. And that can be a treatment point as well as a reflex. So again, you can play it against UV32.
You said it could be a treatment and a reflex.
Sorry?
You said it could be a treatment and a reflex.
Yeah, all of these, UV32, UV15, and small intestine 13, center 15 area. All these three can, are kind of both reflexes and treatments. So you play them against each other. Which one's the worst? Use one that isn't too bad to release the one that's bad, then you can leave the one that's bad. Make sense? All right. Are we kind of filled up the theory, or do we want more?
Can you, there are like sugar points and stuff on the back too.
The sugar points are T11, T12, okay? Motto or do. Okay, and those definitely have like extra gumminess on the side.
And do you find that those help with like gyno and stuff? Like,
With what?
Gyno issues if you're treating PCOS
Well, the problem here is that you're asking something that's hard. The reason it's hard for me to answer is because I use T11, T12 almost everyone universally.
Okay.
So I can't say that, wow, I can't say it helps PCOS. But the thing is everybody gets it anyway. So the thing, PCOS also you have to kind of distinguish between whether it's, there's two types. There's the one where it's high testosterone, and there's one where they actually have multiple cysts in the ovary. If it's multiple cysts, you want to look at liver aid. But if it's too much testosterone, you want to look more at the GB66. So there's unfortunately it's a syndrome that actually has two different syndromes in it.
Right.
So depending on which one it is, then you direct the treatment. Anything else? Let's take a few moments break to go to the bathroom. We'll come back